Assalamu alaikum everyone. Uh, Hope all is well at your end and enjoying life at home. Soon the physical study will be started as per the Ministry of Higher Education's directions. I think it will be started on 15th of maybe. But your exam maybe in that way. Anyways, the coursework will be finished and exam will be on the way. So, we begin in the name of Lord, the ever benevolent and the ever sustainer. Last week we discussed the organization structures, uh, types, and also we discussed the impact of organization structure on the individual and also groups. Today we are going to discuss another issue which is organizational culture. We hear lots of time this word organization culture. What it is, what are the characteristics of it, and how can we understand the culture of our organization? Is culture different from one another organization? It means, do organizations have different cultures than others or not? And how can we teach? How can we make it live to the employees the culture? How can they manage it and how can they learn it? So in this lecture we will be focusing on culture and organization culture. First, before going to the organizational culture, what culture itself is. So you might have studied in sociology in previous semesters what culture is. You might better know than me that culture is the characteristics, the knowledge of a group or people who encompass, who have language, who have religion, who have cuisine, their social habits, music, arts. Everything they have is their culture. If they have religion, it's a culture. If they have a language, they have specific culture. Their social habits inhabit or show their culture. The music that they hear, the music they have, the local, the domestic music they have, the art they are using, they are all coming in the category of culture. The food they are having, the things that they wear, the marriage, the party, their weddings, their beliefs, what is wrong, what is right, how do they sit on the table, how do they sit on the chair, how do they greet visitors, how they behave with their loved ones or with anyone, and lots of many things comes in the category of culture. So culture is uh, the group or individuals, all the behaviors, all the attitudes they do. Maybe that is food related, maybe that is wearing related, maybe that is music related, maybe that is religion related. Anything that they encompass, they have, is what we call culture. Now, we understood the definition of culture. Now, what is organizational culture? Well, the key to a successful organization is to have a culture based on a strongly held and widely shared set of beliefs, which are supported by the strategy and the structure of the organization. When an organization has a strong culture, three things happen in the organization. Number one, employees know how top management wants them to reply or to respond to any situation. Second, employees believe that the expected response is the proper one, and Um, Lastly, we say that employees know that they will be rewarded for showing the organizational values. See if yeah, everyone has his or her unique personality, traits, and characteristics that is obviously influencing the way we act and interact with each other. Isn't it the same that everyone has a unique personality, a unique type of traits and characteristics which uh, influences the action and the reaction and the interaction with the people and with each other? So when we describe someone as relaxed, shy, aggressive, good tempered, uh, we are actually describing their personality traits. Similarly, if for an organization, it has its own personality, which we call it its culture, organization culture. The culture influences the way employees act and react with each other. Uh, an organization culture can make employee feel included, empowered, and supported. The main uh, importance and the main objective of the organization culture is that um, it will feel the employee to be included in the decision making. They are empowered, they are given the power, sorry, and they are supported at any step of the organization and activity. Or maybe some organization cultures can have a negative impact and effect because culture can be powerful. So, for managers, it is important to pay attention to organizational culture because it is a way the people do things around here, and it is based on the values, the symbols, the rituals, the myths, and practices that people are doing when they are working in groups, they are working individually. So all of these things shape up organizational structures, values, symbols, rituals, myths, practices, beliefs. They all shape up organization culture, and it's actually in the organizational personality. We earlier said that everyone has a unique personality, so these rituals, these beliefs, these symbols, these values, these practices, or organizational personality, it shows us, it demonstrates us the personality of the organization. Uh, how relaxed culture it has. If we compare one organization with the other, so we will know that how relaxed culture it has, or how rigid culture it has. Or it has a smooth going or a tough going organization. So all of these words come from the culture that the organization shape up in the context of organization. The benefits of a strong culture is that it creates a stronger employee commitment to the organization, and it helps in the recruitment and socialization of the new employees when they are hiring in. It fosters a higher organizational performance by instilling and promoting the employees' initiative. So, we earlier described the organizational culture, and we uh, defined organizations culture that they are shared assumptions, their values, the beliefs, the practices which govern behavior in an organization. These assumptions, values, beliefs, and practices are transmitted, and sometimes they are adopted, not only inherited, but they are sometimes adopted from one generation of employees to the next, and they are observed by all the new organizational members or the employees of the organization. A scholar by the name of Shan in 1985 defined organization culture that they are a set of beliefs, they are a set of values, and they are assumptions they are shared by members of an organization. Another common definition, we say that it is simply the way we do things around here. Anything that is done in the organization, it's called organizational culture. Organization culture refers to the way in which tasks are completed, and on the other hand, organizational climate means that how it feels to work in that organization. Sometimes we say that the organization climate is not good. It means their employee is not feeling well in the organization. He doesn't feel okay. So how things are done, it's called organizational culture. How tasks are completed, they are this is called organization culture. But when we say that someone is not feeling well or feeling good to an organization, that's called organization climate. uh, there are seven primary characteristics that capture the essence of an organization's culture, and they can be uh, innovation and risk taking, attention to details, outcome orientation, uh, pupil orientation, team orientation, aggressiveness, stability. Innovation and risk taking means that the degree to which employees are encouraged and to be innovative and take a risk in the organization. Number second is attention to details. Attention to detail means it is the degree to which employees are expected to exhibit analysis, to exhibit precision, and attention to the details of the organization. Thirdly, outcome orientation. Outcome orientation is the degree to which management focuses on results of the organization, or outcomes rather than the techniques and processes used to achieve this organization. They are outcomes oriented people. uh, they don't care of the process, that on which process this activity has been done. They only focus on the process. The fourth one is people orientation. uh, People orientation means the degree to which management decision take into consideration the effect of outcomes on people within the organization. There, what are the outcomes, what are the results, and what is the impact, what is the effect on it, on the people, on the employees of the same organization. Fifth one is team orientation. Team orientation means the degree to which work activities are organized around the teams rather than the individuals, how they are organized in the team. Sixth is, aggressiveness. Aggressiveness means the degree to which people are aggressive and competitive rather than easygoing. They shouldn't take everything easy, but they have to be aggressive in taking the activity done. The last point in primary characteristics of organizational structure is stability. Stability means the degree to which on organizational activities emphasize maintaining the status quo in contrast to growth. They emphasize on the status quo of the organization in order to be in the environment and to be in the market. They rather degrade or discourage the growth of the organization, but they just rely on the stability, that the organization should be stable and they should be maintained. Uh, Culture is a descriptive term. Always, it's concerned with how employees perceive the characteristics of an organization. Um, uh, Descriptive term means that this is important because it differentiates the concept from job satisfaction. Uh, Research on organizational culture has sought to measure how employees see their organization. Does it encourage teamwork? Does it reward innovation in the organization? That is, uh, uh, giving encourage initiatives. That does it stifle the initiative? Uh, on the other hand, job satisfaction seeks to measure effective responses to the work environment. Uh, it is concerned with how employees feel about the organization's expectations, rewards, the practices, and some things like that. The two terms, uh, whether job organizational culture and or job satisfaction, undoubtedly have overlapping characteristics. Keeping in mind that the term organizational culture is descriptive, where and the job satisfaction is an evaluative term. Now we come to foundations of organizational culture. The impact of organizational culture. Uh, we earlier said that culture influences how people act in organizations and the way which people perform the activities. They view their jobs. They work with the colleagues and look at the future of that organization. Uh, Next is what do cultures do? Uh, the functions of a culture is that culture performs a number of functions within an organization. First, it has a boundary defining role, that is, it creates distinctions between one organization and others. And first, we said that everyone and every organization has its unique personality traits and characteristics. So there should be distinction between one organization and the other organization in terms of cultures. Secondly, it conveys a sense of identity for organizational members. And thirdly, culture facilitates the generation of commitment to something larger than one's individual self-interest. Fourth, it enhances the stability of the social system. Culture is the social glue that helps hold the organization together by providing fair and appropriate standards for what employees should say and do. Finally, culture serves as a sense making and controlling the mechanism sorry that guides and shapes the attitudes and behavior of employees. It is the last function that is of particular interest to us. Culture, by definition, is elusive, intangible, implicit, and taken for granted. We cannot see, we cannot physically see it, but we can feel the culture of an organization. Every organization develops a core set of assumptions, understandings, and implicit rules that is governing day-to-day behavior in the work place in the organizations. Uh, Next is uh, how culture begins. Uh, the organization's current custom and traditions and general way of doing things uh, are largely due to what it has done before and the degree of success it has had with those endeavors, those activities. This leads to us to the ultimate source of an organization, cultures, and its founders. The founder of an organization traditionally have a major impact on that organization's early culture that it had. They have a vision of what the organization should be. They are unconstrained by the previous customs or the ideologies. The small size that typically characterizes new organizational further facilities the founders' impositions of their vision on all organizational members. Uh, Culture creation occurs in three ways. Number one, founders hire and keep only employees who think and feel the same way they do. Uh, Secondly, they indoctrinate or they instruct and socialize these employees to their ways of thinking in the organization and give them a feeling. And finally, the founders' own behavior to that acts as a role model for the employees, which will encourage employees to identify with them, and thereby they internalize their beliefs, values, and assumptions. When the organization succeeds, the founder's vision becomes seen as a primary determinant of the success because they are the top people, they are the models, the role models indeed. The founder's entire personality becomes embedded in the culture of that organization. So these are the three ways that begin how can organization begins. Mostly it is relying on the founders who is a role model for the other employees. There are two components of organizational culture. One is called substance and the other is called form. Substance means Uh, it consists of shared systems of beliefs, the values, the expectations, and the norms, while the form means that it consists of the observable ways that members of a culture express their ideas. Look, substance are the shared systems of beliefs, they are the values, they are expectation and norms. On the other hand, form means they are the observable way that members of a culture express their ideas. Uh, how organizational cultures formed? So, uh, through personal assumptions, their beliefs and values of organization, founders shape the development of organizational structure or culture. Sorry. Previously, we studied yet founders are the only people who are giving them the way they are playing a role model for the organization. So uh, second, as an organization grows in size, these assumptions, values, and beliefs are passed to everyone in new employee. When new employees come into being or to the organization on board, so they learn from the past that when the organization becomes bigger in the size, they grow, so they learn from the past because a culture can be passed through the people. Sometimes, as we earlier said, that they can be adopted. So, the second way of forming the organizational culture. Thirdly, senior level management and the founders of that organization set out some designed cultures for them. They set up structures, beliefs, and policies for the employees to adopt or to apply those organizational cultures. And lastly, some organization train their employees. They give training to their employees. They show them that how we do things around here. They drop extensive mission and value statements to them. They show particular attention of the service level, and all the activities that is performing. They show them. They are uh, giving them a training, a psyche, an ideology, an opinion that how things are done in this organization. Uh, there can be a strong organization and there strong cultures, and there can be uh, 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 weak cultures in the organization. So how can we differentiate uh, weak cultures, and how can we understand the strong cultures? Uh, in a strong culture, the organization's core values are both intensely held and they are widely shared in the organization. Uh, the more members who accept the core values, and the greater their commitment to those values, is that the strong culture exists in that organization. A strong culture will have great influence on the behavior of its members, because the high degree of sharedness and the intensity creates the internal climate of high behavioral control in the organization. Uh, one specific result of strong culture should be lower employees turnover. A strong culture demonstrate high agreement members about what the organization stands for. Uh, such anonymity of purpose builds cohesiveness, loyalty, and the organizational commitment. Uh, these qualities in turn less the employee's propensity to leave that organization. There will be less intention to leave and turnover of the organization. So strong cultures have a clear philosophy with regard to how the business is operated, while weak cultures have no clear philosophy. uh, and number second, strong cultures emphasize on the communication of core values and beliefs of the organization, while weak cultures are not having clearly defined or well communicated values. Third, the existence of statements, symbols, and traditions which explicitly describe the values of the organization, strong cultures have, while in weak culture there are few indicators of the values and traditions in the organization. Fourthly, a shared sense of values and norms of behavior exist among members in the strong cultures, while only limited or no evidence of alignment between the way things are done and they are espoused values of the organization in weak cultures. Lastly, attention is paid to the importance of maintaining organizational culture uh, when recruiting and new employees. For example, selecting of new members that involves in screening to ensure they are fit with the culture or not. When you are going to hire and select the employees, in that process you have to check whether this person is compatible with this culture or no. uh, Now the world has been globalized, but some people do not have a good culture, so whether that persons have a culture that fits to this organization or not. In weak cultures, no efforts are made to retain the organization culture, and a greater need for procedures and policies in order to get achieve the desired. They are desired really people. They do not take care of the uh, organization. They only the organization culture. They do not take care of the culture of that organization. So weak culture and these were the differentiation between the weak culture and strong cultures. So we move to organization keeping cultures alive. How can be we how can we keep our cultures alive? There are three things keeping cultures alive. The one is selection, the second is top management, and socialization. Once a culture in a place is inhabited and it's placed, there are practices within the organization that act to maintain it by giving employees a similar set of experiences. Uh, this, the selection process, performance evaluation criteria, training and development activities, and promotion procedures ensure that those hired employees fit within the culture. As earlier I said, reward those who support it and punish those who challenge those culture. Uh, Three forces play a particular importance in sustaining a culture, and they can be selection of practices, the action of top management, and socialization. Socialization. Number one is selection. The explicit goal of the selection process is to identify and hire individuals who have the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities to perform the jobs within the organization successfully. Typically, more than one candidate will be identified who meets any given job's requirements in the organization. When that point is reached, it would be naive. It would be new to ignore that fact. The final decision as to how that will be significantly influenced by the decision makers of judgment of how well the candidates fits in the organization. Uh, Selection is concerning with how well the candidate will fit into the organization. It will provide the information to candidates about the organization. Second is top management. The actions of top management also have a major impact on or the organization's culture. Uh, Through what they say and how they behave in the organization, uh, senior executives or senior management establishing norms that filter down through the organization, as whether it's a test raking risk taking is desirable in their organization, how much freedom is given to the manager uh, or the employees, and what is the appropriate dress in the organization, what is the attire worn in the organization, and what actions will pay off in terms of pay raises, promotions, and other rewards, and many other incentives in the organization. So, management, senior executives help establish behavioral norms which are adopted by the organization and the organization members. The third component in keeping the culture alive is socialization. Uh, no matter how good a job the organization does in recruitment and selection, New employees are not fully instructed, or they are not indoctrinated in the organization's culture. So because they are unfairly they are unfamiliar, they are not known with the organization cultures, new employees are potentially likely to disturb the beliefs and the customs that are in the place in that organization. So organization needs to help new employees to adopt to its culture, and this adaptation is called the socialization process. uh, there are three stages in the socialization process, and they are pre-arrival stage, encounter stage, and metamorphosis stage. The pre-arrival stage explicitly recognizes that each individual arrives with a set of values, a set of attitudes, and a set of expectations. These expectations, these values, attitudes cover both the work to be done and the organization. For example, in many jobs, particularly in professional activities or professional works, new members will have undergone a considerable degree of prior socialization and training and in school. They give a socialization. So pre-arrival stage, they give a socialization training. Most people in business realize that no matter how well they think they can socialize newcomers, the most important predictor of newcomers' future behavior is their past behavior. Researches show that what people know before they join the organization and how proactive their personalities are the critical predictors of how well they adjust to new cultures. uh, Next is the encounter stage. In encounter stage, the new member enters the encounter stage after the pre-arrival stage. Here, the individual is facing the possible dichotomy between expectations about the job, the co-workers, the boss, and the organization in particular and in general. Uh, if expectations prove to have been more or less accurate, the encounter stage merely provides a reaffirmation of the perceptions gained earlier. However, this is often not the case with the people and the employees in the organization. Where expectations and reality differ, the new employee must undergo socialization that will detach her or him from the previous assumption that he had, and that will replace them with another set of the organization deemed desirable. A new member may become totally disillusioned with the actualities of the job, and then he or she will resign. So, proper selection should significantly reduce the probability of the later occurrence in the organization. Finally, the new member must work uh, on any problems discovered during the encounter stage. This may mean going through changes. We call this stage metamorphosis stage. Uh, Careful selection by management of newcomers, socialization, and standards experience at the extreme create conformists who maintain traditions and customs, or they're inventive and creative individualists who consider no organizational practice. They do not take care of that sacred practices. We can simply say that metamorphosis and the entry socialization process is complete when new members have become comfortable with the organization and their job they are having. They have internalized the norms of the organization and their work group, and understand, and also not only understand but also accept those norms. uh, these new members feel accepted by their peers, by their groups, by their team members as trusted and valued individuals. They are self-confident that they have the competence to complete that job successfully. So these are the three stages in the socialization model, which are pre-arrival, the encounter, uh, then we have metamorphosis. Uh, how will they lead? What will be the outcomes of these stages of the socialization model? Uh, Productivity will be there if there exists uh, the socialization, and commitment will exist, and there will be low turnover in the organization. So next is that how employees learn cultures. Uh, there are four things that employees can learn cultures. The one is storytelling, rituals, material symbols, and languages. Uh, by stories, how can we learn cultures? Narratives of significant events, of actions, of people that convey the spirits of the organization, the history, the founders' stories, how the initiative of organization was begun. Uh, when there is an orientation of the organization, so orientation, uh, we listen to stories of the organization, that how the organization came into being, how they came into existence, how was it developed, how was it set up. So the storytelling is the purpose of creating all of the scenarios uh, in your mind, so that we can feel connected to that organization. So this is called storytelling, or stories. Next is rituals. Ritual means the repetitive sequence of activities that express and they reinforce the values of the organization. So several events are organized. Uh, different events take place in organization to make sure that they are following those cultures which are required. They celebrate things to make people understand that they are very much people oriented in the organization. For example, if each year a company or an organization is celebrating Women's Day or several other days, so they are showing actually the rituals. They are showing how significant uh, people are. They are, and how they take care of the people, and they are continually embedding a cooperative culture in their employees. Thirdly is a material symbol. Material symbol means that uh, those are the types of activities which are shown by materials. These are the material symbols convey the employees who is important, uh, the degree of desired by top management, and the kinds of behavior that they are having. For example, we say the risk taking, the conservative ideology, the authoritarian. Are they participative? Are they individualistic? Are they social? These are all the things related to material symbols, which are appropriate for the organization. Uh, Next is language. The last part of how employees will learn the culture is through language. So many organizations and units within the organization use language as a way to identify members of the culture or subcultures. By learning this language, members attest to their acceptance of the culture, and so to help or preserve it. The following are examples of terminology used by employees at Knight Ridder. I have put no, sorry, I have not put it. uh, to each individual a record of database. They say KWIC. So KWIC is a language which means a set of keywords in the context. KWIC. So K stands for key, W stands for words, I stands for N, and C stands for context. There are many other language samples language exist in example CATIA, CATIA. So CATIA means computer graphics added three-dimensional. Sorry that I have not put it here, but I am just saying it. For an, a manufacturing organization, there is another word POP. POP, POP, P purchased, O outside, production. So it's purchase for outside productions. So organizations over time often develop unique terms to describe that equipment or that tool. Offices, key personnels, suppliers, customers, or products that are related to the business of that organization. Uh, New employees are frequently overwhelmed with those acronyms and with those jargons. After 6 months on the job or 7 months on the job, they have fully learned the language of their organization. Once they are assimilated, uh, the terminology acts as a common denominator that unites members of that given culture or the subcultures of the organizations. So this was about how employees learn cultures. Uh, uh, Culture, organization culture. Firstly, we define culture, then organizational cultures, and after that, we studied the characteristics of the organizational culture, and then foundations of the organization which will impact on our organization, uh, the culture's function in the organization, and how can culture be began. We also studied components of the organizational culture and how is organization formed, uh, strong cultures versus weak cultures in the organization, and the uh, methods of keeping culture alive. There were three methods: selection and top management, socialization, and then in socialization we discussed three stages, which was pre-arrival stage, encounter stage, and metamorphosis stage. uh, and lastly we discussed how employees learn the uh, cultures. So this was all about today's lesson. uh, Hope you have learned something and you got the idea. If you have got any questions, any ideas, suggestions, please comment me on the LMS or YouTube, or you can WhatsApp me. Thank you very much. Enjoy the lesson and wait for the second language lecture. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.